Hello everyone, in this video we'll discuss a poem Leda and Swan written by William Butler Yeats. William Butler Yeats received Nobel Prize in Literature in 1923. This poem was also composed in the same year, in 1923. For the first time, this poem was published in 1924 in the Dial. But later, this poem was included in the collection of W.B. Yeats. The title of the collection is The Cat, the Moon, and Certain Poems. Published in 1924. So, this is the publication history. This poem is based on the Greek mythology, in which Zeus, who is the god of heaven, rapes Leda, the Spartan queen, in the form of a swan. So Zeus, who was the god of heaven, he feel bewitched by Leda, who was very beautiful, extremely beautiful lady. So he takes the form of a swan, and in the form of a swan, he rapes Leda, who was the Spartan queen. She was married to Tyndareus. She was actually married to Tyndareus, Tendareus, Tyndareus. But when Zeus rapes her, she gets his egg into her womb, and out of that union, 4 people were born. 2 has reference in this poem. First is Helen, and second is Clytemnestra. These both indirectly becomes the reason for the destruction of the Troy and Greek that were the part of the mythological old world, and the new history begins. In order to understand it better, you must watch the previous video of the background. Now let's start the poem. So this is a scene of a rape, and this poem talks about how this incident settled or fixed or sown the bees of the larger event of future. So here the scene of the rape. Here Leda, a human lady, is held by Zeus in the form of swan. So starts with a sudden blow. The great wings. So whose great wings are there? Great wings of Swan, who is Zeus in disguise. So great wings beating still. So he has come flying. So the great wing is still beating. Above whom? Above the staggering girl. So Zeus has taken in the form of swan, taken the form of the girl Leda. So Leda must be staggering behind. She must be falling behind, and he holds her. Her thighs caressed by the dark webs of the swan. Her nape, the nape of Leda, is caught by the bill of swan. He holds her helpless breast upon his breast. So he has embraced her. Here is embrace, but this embrace is forceful. So Zeus in the form of swan, he forcefully embraces Leda. So their breasts are against one another. So this is the initial scene. And then the poet raises a question that as Leda must have understood or felt that this is not a simple swan but Zeus in the form of swan, and she was so terrified by this huge swan who has come and overpowered her, who is going to ravish her, that she is terrified, and her terrified fingers are not able to push the Jews behind. So, though she tries to resist, but she cannot resist the glory of the God of the heaven. So, poet raises the question, how can those terrified fingers, whose fingers? Leda's, push the feathered glory, whose glory? Zeus, who has come in the form of swan. So somewhere Leda must have understood that it's not a simple bird, it's Zeus in guise. So how can she push her from her loosening thighs? So here loosening thighs represent that initially her thighs were tight and she was resisting the seduction of Zeus, but by and by she loosens her thigh, she gives herself to Zeus, she lets herself to be ravished by the Zeus. And now, how can body laid in that white rush? White rush, again, the white is the color of the swan, so white rush. But feel she has no other option but her body that is surrounded by the white feathers of the swan. She has no other option but to feel the strange heart. Whose strange heart? Zeus' strange heart in the guise of swan. So she has no other option but to feel this strange heart beating where it lies. So it was beating and she was listening to that heart, and she has no other option but to let herself be taken away in the moment. So here is the loosening thighs. Next, here is first we must see that this is the quatrain. This is the first octave, first 8 lines, and the rhyme scheme of 8 lines is A B A B B C and B C. So here is the first octave followed by a sestet. Now let's see the sestet. Sestet starts with the ejaculation. So here is in the first octave we read the story till Leda was raped by the Jews, and then she by and by loosens her thigh and let herself be overpowered, ravished by the Jews. And here is the point of ejaculation, the sudder in the leons. So there is a sudder in the leons. So this is a point of ejaculation. So ejaculation engenders there. And here these 3 lines are the reference of Trojan war. Because with this ejaculation, the womb of the Leda was filled with the sperm of Zeus, due to which Helen and Clytemnestra was born. Clytemnestra was born. Helen later becomes the Spartan queen and the wife of Menelaus. In the old mythological age, there were 2 great kingdoms, Troy and supposed Greek. The Trojan prince, whose name was Paris, he comes to Greek along with his brother Hector, and when this Paris comes, he meets with Helen and he elopes with Helen or abducts Helen and takes to Troy. Because of that, the Greek in the command of Clytemnestra's husband Agamemnon, here's the reference, Agamemnon, attacks Troy, and the Troy is destroyed. So we can say Helen, who was born out of this rape, becomes the reason of the destruction of Troy. Later, when the victorious Greek army returns, Agamemnon was made to be killed by Clytemnestra. So Clytemnestra had him killed. So the ancient Greek history also finishes and the modern history of the Greek starts. So this was the end of an age. So the seed of the end of an age was sown here with this rape. So there is the reference here. These three lines are the reference of the future events. The broken wall. Whose broken wall? Troy's. The burning roof and tower. So whose burning roof and tower? Troy's. And Agamemnon dead. So Agamemnon dead. This line is about the destruction of Troy, and Agamemnon dead is the destruction of the old world of Greek. Being so caught up, so here question can be asked that these lines refers to Trojan War. Being so caught up, she was so caught up by Zeus. Leda was so caught up by Zeus, so mastered by the brood blood of the air. Now, the poet raises the question that it may be because Zeus was the lord of the heavens, so he knew that with this rape, what he is sowing the seed of. But did Leda also know that she is being the part of the very great future events? So here poet asks that did she put on his knowledge? Zeus, here he claims that Zeus knew that he is planting the seed of the future destruction of the old mythological world. But did she also share this news? She also shared this knowledge? And this was the reason that she let herself be ravished. Did she put on his knowledge with his power? Before the indifferent beak. Why indifferent? Because he was raping her. He had no emotional connection with her. So he rapes her, he ravishes her, and then just throws her. So indifferent beak could let her drop. So Leda, after being used, she was just dropped on the floor or wherever she was, and the Zeus goes from there. So this is the poem based on a mythological event described in the Greek mythology about Leda's rape by the Zeus that planted the seed of future Trojan War and the end and the destruction of the old mythological era of Greek. So have a nice time. Thank you.